A taxi driver in South Korea is driving late at night, totally normal shift, until he notices something unusual about the suitcase in his back seat. Something about it feels off. So he pulls over, steps out, and the passenger who brought that suitcase is just calmly standing there, like nothing is strange at all. That passenger, a young woman, quiet, ordinary looking, who had been spending hours and hours watching true crime content online, and eventually decided to try something she'd been thinking about for way too long. This moment would end up exposing one of the most disturbing real-life cases the country had ever seen. Not because of how it happened, but because of why. This wasn't revenge, wasn't self-defense, wasn't personal beef. It was curiosity. This case centers around a 23-year-old woman from Busan who spent an insane amount of time binge-watching true crime content, podcasts, documentaries, online breakdowns, and slowly became obsessed with the idea of planning a perfect crime. She pretended to be someone she wasn't online, tricked another young woman into meeting her, and then tried to cover her tracks afterward like she'd studied it from a playbook. But what makes this case next level is that investigators later said she wasn't driven by anger, money, jealousy, or anything normal. She just wanted to experience it. She lived in Busan, one of the biggest coastal cities in South Korea. And on the outside, her life didn't look like some tragic disaster. But behind closed doors, things were rough. She didn't have close friends. She'd dropped out of college. She wasn't working. Most days she stayed inside her room, scrolling, watching. Instead of using that alone time to improve her life or career, she dove deeper and deeper into the world of true crime content, documentaries, forums, online rabbit holes, podcasts breaking down how people got away with it. Hours turned into weeks, turned into months. And this wasn't casual curiosity anymore. It became a weird, obsessive mental project. She started taking notes, planning, researching, not like a viewer, more like someone studying. Like she wasn't just watching bad things happen, she wanted to simulate it. Eventually, she made a decision. She was going to take this idea offline. She didn't go outside randomly looking for someone. She planned this like an actual project. She made fake accounts online and pretended to be a parent looking for an English tutor for her middle school daughter. She messaged a bunch of tutors, not one or two, but dozens. Most of them ignored her or the vibe didn't match. But eventually, she found one young woman who agreed to meet. They picked a day. They picked a time. They set up the first trial lesson. When the day came, she didn't show up as the parent. She dressed like the daughter, school uniform, backpack, the whole act. Imagine this. You're a tutor. You think you're greeting a student for a normal home lesson. Nothing crazy. Just another work day. The victim opens the door, lets her inside, and from that moment forward, none of this is about education anymore. This wasn't random. This wasn't an emotional snap decision. This was prepared, step-by-step, and for weeks. Once she stepped inside that apartment, everything changed. The tutor had no idea anything unusual was about to happen. From what investigators later pieced together, the vibe was calm at first. Friendly, normal small talk, just like any tutoring session would start. But inside her mind, this was the moment she'd been rehearsing. At some point, when the tutor was relaxed and not expecting anything, she made her move. Quick, calculated, zero hesitation. Later, when detectives searched her devices, they found she'd spent months studying how to plan out the perfect crime, how to avoid leaving evidence, how to distance herself from the scene. And just like that, this wasn't a scenario anymore. This wasn't content she was watching on a screen. This was now real. A human life wasn't a character in a show. This wasn't fiction, and she still didn't stop. After the incident, instead of panic, she shifted straight into cleanup mode, like she was following a checklist. Her mindset wasn't shock, it was performance. After leaving the apartment, she didn't panic. She grabbed a suitcase and went about her next steps like it was a normal errand. She called a taxi and asked to be driven north, past the city lights, into a quiet, secluded area surrounded by woods. The driver thought it was odd. Late at night, no explanation. A young woman dragging a suitcase into nowhere. But he did his job. Then he noticed something weird, something off about the suitcase. He tried to shake it off, but he couldn't ignore it. And that moment and that hesitation is what changed everything. He called the authorities and reported it immediately. Thanks to him, the police knew exactly where to start looking. One simple decision, noticing something off, stopped her from covering her tracks completely. The police didn't have to search far. CCTV footage had already tracked her going in and out of the apartment multiple times. She didn't cover her tracks as well as she thought. When they arrived at her grandfather's home, they found enough evidence to bring her in. At first, she denied everything, tried to claim someone else was involved, tried to redirect blame. But after a few days of questioning, the story started to unravel. Eventually, she confessed. She admitted that her obsession with true crime, the documentaries, the podcasts, the online forums, had pushed her to act out what she'd been consuming. She said she felt isolated, frustrated, and curious. Experts later analyzed her case and noted signs of mental health struggles, schizophrenic tendencies, social isolation, repeated failures in school and work. The judge would later say that her actions spread fear, showing how someone, almost anyone, could be drawn into dangerous behaviors when left isolated and consuming extreme content obsessively. Her confession didn't erase the shock or the heartbreak, but it gave investigators the full picture. This case didn't just shake Busan, it blew up online. People everywhere started asking, is true crime content safe? Can watching too much actually mess with your head? Experts say true crime can be fascinating and even helpful. Some podcasts and shows have helped solve real cold cases, giving victims' families justice. But there's a flip side. For someone isolated, alone, or mentally vulnerable, like she was, consuming endless true crime content can blur the line between reality and obsession. And it's not just about perpetrators. Craig Wright, for example, a man whose personal tragedy got twisted online by social media sleuths, ended up targeted by strangers accusing him of things he never did. The wrong story spread faster than the truth, causing real trauma. The lesson? Stories are powerful. Content can entertain, educate, or distort. And when curiosity, isolation, and obsession mix, things can spiral out of control, on both sides of the story. So what can we take away from all this? For one, curiosity can be harmless until it isn't. Watching true crime for entertainment? Totally fine. But isolation, obsession, and the wrong mindset? That's a dangerous mix. And on the other side, social media can turn anyone into a suspect overnight, twisting reality into stories that aren't true. Craig Wright's experience shows how fast misinformation spreads and how much damage it can do to someone's life. Ultimately, this story isn't just about one woman's actions or one man's struggles. It's about how stories, content, and online culture can shape behavior, sometimes in ways we never expected. So next time you hit play on a true crime series, just remember, some lessons are better learned from a distance. And that's it for today's episode. Stay curious, stay safe, and always think twice before letting obsession take over.